Welcome to Study Faith with AI, where we use the power of AI to help you explore the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I'm Meg Jensen.
And I'm Paul Carter.
And we're Google AIs. Whether you're a lifelong member or just starting to learn about the church, we're here to dive deep into its history, beliefs, and culture.
We know there is a lot of information out there about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, tons.
You might know it as the Mormon faith, books, articles, people's opinions.
It can be overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're here to kind of break through all that.
We use AI to go through all that scholarship and all those different commentaries and try to boil it down to what are the key insights.
Think of us as your AI study buddies, ready to help you on your journey.
We believe that understanding faith requires looking at things from multiple angles.
So we bring you a balanced perspective, drawing on sources from both inside and outside the church.
You know, sometimes those perspectives align and sometimes they clash.
That's where things get really interesting.
And remember, we're not here to tell you what to think.
Right, and just to make sure that you're getting the full picture, make sure you check out the sources in the AI prompt that we use.
Absolutely.
You can find those in the episode description.
Yep.
So if you're ready to learn,
Question.
discover something new, you're in the right place.
That's right.
Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something really, really central to the Mormon Church, or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as they prefer now.
Right.
And that is priesthood authority.
Yes.
You might be surprised to learn that some early Mormon records don't even mention the Priesthood Restoration events that we hear so much about now.
Wow. Okay.
But before we even get there, we need to understand why this is the bedrock.
Right.
Their claim to be the one true church rests upon this.
Yeah. It's not just about roles or titles.
Okay.
It's about power. God's power delegated to man, like a divine franchise agreement.
Okay.
That's how the church itself defines it.
Got it.
In our source here, Priesthood LDS.
Okay.
And that power allows them to perform ordinances. From baptism to temple ceremonies, give blessings, lead the church. It's all encompassing.
Okay, so it's not just any power. It's power that's flowing directly from God.
Yes.
And the LDS Church is saying that they have the exclusive tap.
Yes.
I'm guessing that's where the restoration comes in.
Exactly. The church teaches that this authority was lost after the time of Christ's apostles.
Okay.
And the world fell into apostasy.
Okay.
That's why Joseph Smith's claim to have restored the priesthood in the 1800s is so vital. Without it, their entire structure crumbles.
So no priesthood, no authority.
Exactly.
No valid ordinances, no path to salvation.
That's right.
As Mormons believe it.
Yes.
Whoa!
High stakes.
Those are some high stakes.
Think of it this way. Restoration LDS lays out that without this restored priesthood, there is no way to connect back to that original divine power. It would be like trying to run a franchise without the legal rights from the owner.
I'm starting to see why this is such a big deal for them.
Yes, very important.
Okay, so walk me through this. What exactly is this priesthood power supposed to enable people to do?
Okay.
Is it just about church stuff, or does it go further?
It goes much further. Priesthood LDS makes it clear. It's about acting in God's name for the salvation of souls.
Okay.
Think creation, governing the universe, exalting humanity to godhood. It's that level of power they're talking about.
Whoa. Okay, so not just running the local congregation.
Yeah, no. Much, much bigger.
But if this is all about a restoration, how did it supposedly happen?
Right.
Did Joseph Smith just decide one day he had this power?
No.
Or is there more to the story?
There's a whole narrative around it, and it's pretty dramatic. But before we jump into how it was restored, I think it's crucial to understand what this priesthood even is. It has two levels, like a ladder. The first rung is the Aaronic priesthood, more of a preparatory stage.
So like priesthood training wheels?
You could say that. Restoration LDS points out this is what young men receive starting at age 12.
Focusing on service and basic ordinances.
Okay.
Then comes the Melchizedek priesthood, encompassing all the higher offices and allowing them to perform more significant ordinances like baptism, confirmations, and even temple ceremonies.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. Like a hierarchy of power with each level unlocking greater ability to act on God's behalf
Exactly.
But let's be real, a lot of faiths claim divine guidance or authority.
Sure.
What makes the LDS Church so different?
Good question.
What are the specific consequences
Right.
of not having this priesthood according to them?
This is where it gets really interesting, where the stakes become incredibly high.
Yeah.
Well, in their view, it boils down to this: no priesthood equals no true connection to God, and therefore no valid way to access the saving ordinances required for exaltation.
Mm-hmm.
Restoration LDS is very clear on this.
Okay.
It's not just about belonging to a specific church.
Right.
It's about holding the keys to unlock the path back to God's presence. So even if someone is a good person, lives a moral life, but doesn't belong to the LDS Church and doesn't receive these priesthood ordinances,
Right.
they're out of luck.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty exclusive club.
That's the crux of their belief.
Yeah.
And it comes with immense implications.
Oh,
Priesthood LDS details how every ordinance,
okay.
from baptism to temple sealings, is seen as requiring this authority to be legitimate in God's eyes.
Okay.
Without it, those acts hold no eternal weight,
Wow.
no matter how sincere the individual might be.
That's a weighty concept.
It is.
So it's not just about following rules or rituals.
No.
It's about tapping into a power source
Yes.
that only flows through this specific channel.
That's their belief.
Are there examples of what sorts of consequences they believe are at stake here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Restoration LDS touches on how eternal progression, the ability to continue growing and learning after this life, is contingent upon receiving these priesthood ordinances. Without them, a person's spiritual journey essentially hits a dead end.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the gravity of this.
Yeah.
It's not just about heaven or hell.
Right.
It's about reaching the highest levels of glory in the afterlife.
Yes.
Becoming like God as they believe is possible.
Exactly.
And without this priesthood connection, none of that is achievable.
That is their belief. Yes.
No.
It's about the very essence of their concept of salvation.
Right.
And to understand that fully, we need to look back at how this authority was supposedly lost in the first place.
The great apostasy.
Yes.
The idea that the true church and its priesthood authority vanished from the earth for centuries.
For centuries.
Okay, refresh my memory.
Okay.
How does the LDS Church explain that happening?
Well, Restoration LDS frames it as a gradual falling away from Christ's original teachings and authority. Over time, they believe doctrines became corrupted. Ordinances were changed, and the priesthood was ultimately lost entirely.
So a bit like a game of telephone where the message gets distorted as it's passed along.
A good analogy.
Okay.
The church believes that this spiritual darkness prevailed for centuries.
Right.
Until they say, God chose Joseph Smith to restore the fullness of the gospel and bring back the priesthood authority to earth.
Okay, so enter Joseph Smith.
That's right.
The prophet of the restoration.
Yes.
But the church doesn't just claim he thought he had this authority right.
Right.
They have a very specific story about how this restoration happened.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
That's right. Restoration LDS outlines this dramatic narrative full of angelic visitations and divine pronouncements.
Right.
According to Joseph Smith's accounts, he and Oliver Cowdery were visited by heavenly messengers who conferred the priesthood upon them.
Okay.
First came John the Baptist restoring the Aaronic priesthood.
Okay.
And later, Peter, James, and John appeared, bestowing the Melchizedek priesthood.
Okay, so it's not just about ideas or doctrines being restored.
Right.
It's about actual power.
That's right.
Being passed down.
Yes.
Through a physical laying on of hands.
Yes.
It all sounds very tangible.
Indeed. The church emphasizes the literal nature of these events, positioning them as concrete historical moments that irrevocably changed the course of human history.
And these claims are at the heart of what separates the LDS Church from other Christian denominations.
That's correct.
They're saying they have something that no one else does.
Yes.
This direct line of authority back to Christ himself.
That is their claim, yes.
Okay, so we've established the significance of this restoration event.
Yes.
But what evidence do they offer to support these extraordinary claims?
The question.
Are there accounts beyond Joseph Smith's own writings that corroborate this narrative?
There are indeed.
Okay.
And that's where the historical record becomes crucial in understanding the LDS perspective.
Yeah.
Restoration LDS itself draws upon various sources.
Wait a minute, this is getting really good.
Oh, yeah.
Don't stop there. Let's dive into those historical accounts and see what they reveal about the restoration. So we've got Restoration LDS laying out the LDS view.
Right.
Like, no priesthood, no true ordinances, no exaltation as they see it.
Exact.
And this all hinges on Joseph Smith's claim to have this power restored by biblical figures. I mean, that's a huge assertion.
It is.
What kind of historical backing do they offer for something so extraordinary?
Well, Restoration LDS draws upon a variety of sources.
Okay.
But one that stands out is the testimony of Oliver Cowdery.
Okay. Oliver Cowdery.
He was Joseph Smith's scribe during those early days.
Right.
And he left behind accounts
Okay.
claiming to have witnessed these priesthood restorations firsthand.
So not just Joseph Smith's word alone,
Right.
but corroboration from someone.
Exactly.
He was supposedly right there beside him.
That's right.
What exactly did Oliver Cowdery say about these experiences?
In various letters and writings,
Okay.
Cowdery describes these events in vivid detail.
Okay.
He speaks of seeing John the Baptist descend in a cloud of light,
Wow.
conferring the Aaronic priesthood upon him and Joseph.
Okay.
He even recounts the physical sensations,
Okay.
the feeling of being filled with the Holy Ghost.
Really?
It's a powerful testimony.
Yeah.
And it's one that the church relies heavily upon to support their claims.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's one thing to read Joseph Smith's account.
Right.
But to have another person claiming to have shared those experiences
Right.
adds another layer of intrigue.
For sure.
Did Cowdery ever waver in his testimony?
That's a great question.
Even after he left the church?
That's a key point.
Yeah.
Even after Cowdery had a falling out with Joseph Smith and was excommunicated from the church,
Okay.
he never denied his witness of these events.
Wow.
In fact, Restoration LDS highlights how he continued to affirm the reality of those priesthood restorations until his death.
Wow. So even when he was no longer a member,
Right.
he still held on to that core belief.
He did.
That's a pretty compelling piece of evidence.
It is.
From the LDS perspective, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's one of the pillars they point to when defending the authenticity of the restoration. For them, it shows that this wasn't just a fabrication or a delusion on Joseph Smith's part, but something that multiple people experienced and testified to.
Okay, so Restoration LDS utilizes eyewitness accounts, scriptural interpretations, and theological arguments to build their case for the priesthood restoration being a literal historical event. But I'm curious, what's the broader significance of this for the LDS Church? Why is it so vital to their identity and mission?
Think of it like a keystone in an arch.
Okay.
Remove it, and the whole structure collapses.
Yeah.
That's what the priesthood restoration represents for Mormonism.
Okay.
Without it, they lose their claim to unique authority. Their ordinances become meaningless.
Okay.
And their entire purpose for existing is called into question.
So it's not just a historical curiosity.
No.
It's the foundation.
It's the foundation.
Upon which their entire belief system rests?
Exactly.
Okay.
And Priesthood LDS underscores this by emphasizing that this restored authority is not just about governing the church here and now, but about holding the keys to eternal salvation, to guiding humanity back to God's presence.
Wow, we've really gone deep on this one.
We have.
From the nuts and bolts of what this priesthood is to the dramatic narrative of its restoration and the eternal consequences at stake. It's clear why this is such a pivotal concept for the LDS Church.
Very important.
Well said.
Thank you.
We've only scratched the surface today.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But hopefully, this deep dive has provided you, our listener, with a clearer understanding of why priesthood authority is the bedrock of Mormon belief.
It's
a complex and nuanced topic.
It is.
And we encourage you to continue exploring the sources we've discussed and draw your own conclusions.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
If you find value in this exploration, please like, share, follow, and consider becoming a subscriber. Your contributions help keep these conversations going and allows us to maintain the highest quality production. You can find all the details at studyfaithwithai.com. Thank you for being part of this journey.